What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Hollywood Already Did It, your podcast for movies that have been rebooted, sequelized, or done over and over again, and why this trend continues. As always, I'm your host, Blake Schultz, and with me is Terrence Tatum.
Hello, everyone.
I was going to say, I couldn't tell if you were sitting very still for a while or if your screen had stopped moving. It is the second. It is. We are do
Yeah.
Today we are doing the Running Man movie, the reboot of the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie from the 80s, and an adaptation of Stephen King, the second Stephen King adaptation we've had this year, and very, very similar to The Long Walk. So we can clearly see that some of Stephen King's good old fashioned, pen names he was using, he had a lot of similar ideas. Uh, Terrence, what did you think about The Running Man? I know you're a big fan of the book and the movie and
Yeah.
everything else.
It's one of my I love dystopian sci-fi anyway, but it's one of my favorite books from the Bachman run of Stephen King. If you don't know, it's the highest of those four. Long Walk just got done as a movie. The one of them is never going to be made a movie. But outside of that, Running Man is the film that whenever I think of sci-fi and dystopian, I go trying to fight to do this franchise or to do this movie for so long. I was like, well, that's an odd choice because I like Edgar Wright, but he is very stylized when he does films, and so survival thriller, dystopian, it's dealing with a lot of those social, economic, and moral cues that the societies kind of go through when you're impoverished and you're poor and you're with dealing with trying to like, hey, how does the broke man or the poor man? It is a much closer adaptation to the book than the Arnold one, which is just a straight up action sci-fi outside of taking the bones of what the idea is, but still yet somehow feels very safe. And I think whitewash isn't the word, but very sanitized compared to what the book does. And it reminds me a little bit about what Ready Player One did a little bit, how I felt about that, where I was like, you've taken some of you got the nuts and bolts, you're there, but you're doing the safe things by, like in this one, I think making the wife not a prostitute just is like, why? Like that's a part of why you need to show
Especially
that
when
this
you're going
family
to
is.
imply
You're
that she
implying
like
it and
is
you're
sometimes.
hinting, wink, winking, right? You're like wink, winking, but she's not, but she is. But
It was
like,
such a weird choice to be like, oh,
just
I'm
go
not a
for it.
sex worker, but also I could be one
I
because I
could,
can
because my
flirt
friends
with
is doing some
everybody
stuff, right?
as if this is like some old Wild West town where like if you pay them the correctly or like
Yeah,
Jumbo's Clown Room in LA, like it was a very just like just do
this
it or
is
don't do
do
it.
it or don't right. I was like, go for it or not. And the person who read the book, I'm like, no, she's fully a prostitute. And my brain is like, why are you softening the blow? Because a part of that is to show that this family had no other choice. Like this is the end of it. Like this is what they had to do. They had to have him go and be a part of this. And so stuff like that, or like even the black family that they see halfway during the story in the book, they are a part of a gang. Like that's a gang family that he sees. And here they kind of remove all of that, the gang family in a very poisoned area because the black people are even in a worse poverty way than the white poor people, which yes, societal thing. They clean that up here too. Like, yeah, he's not a gang. He's a person who is like a YouTuber and streamer and makes all the choices that don't quite fit in the narrative of what this is. And while I like it, I like the movie overall, but there are points of it where I'm like, oh, you went the safe route. This feels very sanitized. I don't care about the kills, about the deaths, or anything that happens doesn't feel like it has any weight to it because, and I don't know if it's a choice. It might be an Edgar Wright choice to say, hey, I am choosing to show you that you, as an audience, are desensitized to violence like this, but it just doesn't hit. And so I'm sitting here like nothing feels like it has any weight. And I think the biggest problem is the story and the director don't mesh. And it's weird because Edgar Wright doesn't feel like there's any. This feels like a gun for hire directing piece, kind of almost like Aladdin with Guy Ritchie. Like you added none of your sauce to it, so I don't know why you felt so invested to do this, other than you're like, hey, I can make a closer story to that, but then still completely butcher it. And then we'll get on the ending because that is the biggest piece that I think they completely tweak the story and kind of mess it all up. Which the problem, because when you leave an audience going out of that's what they remember, and it doesn't end on a high note for me, it kind of ends on a like whimper. And I was like, we spent a good time of doing everything that the book does and getting the story beats, having great moments. I think there's some moments that Glenn Powell has that like, oh, you're getting the emotionality of what this character's supposed to be having. I think the sequence of him and I can't remember, I think it was Amelia was the girl he hijacked the car. That was
Yeah.
a fantastic sequence. And that like just shows about like, hey, I'm a bad person because I thought the media fed me this, making me believe you were the bad person. Turns out I was a piece of shit and I want to do things to that works. Then you get to the ending, you're like, you do so many things to put a Hollywood bow on it that it just messes up the story as a whole. And I was like, ah, crap. You had me and
Yeah.
you lost me.
I agree. I liked the movie overall. But the things that hindered it, I don't think ever completely removed my enjoyment of what I liked. But it does feel the most like made by a committee movie that I've seen in a while. It feels very much like we are taking Glenn Powell as like the next Tom Cruise and
Yeah.
just throwing IPs at him
Hmm.
until it works. And it's
Right.
worked enough up until now. And I think it's very interesting when we talk about the box office and some of the other data that Deadline has reported on, that clearly that's not really the case.
Hmm.
But it's also interesting from Edgar Wright's point of view, who did like Last Night in Soho before this, I think.
Hmm.
Um, and I can't really remember the last like hell yeah Edgar Wright movie that I watched. I didn't care much for Soho. And so this from him feels like a
Yeah.
layup. It feels like everybody here is just sort of like, hey, we need kind of an easy, safe win. So just do everything that everyone will like always.
Yeah.
Because it's the movie goes out of its way to make these like huge statements about the world and America. And then almost as soon as it does it, like pulls itself back.
Hmm.
But when it does it, it like screams from like there's no subtlety at all. Like
No.
it's and it's
It's
very
like it's if you ever saw the movie Don't Be a Menace, it's when they used to come out and scream like message, that's what's happening. It's like I'm
yeah,
telling you right now, listen, that's the point.
like we go out of our way to like show why Glenn Powell is good at the Running Man, and it's always these like flashbacks to his old jobs where he's like saving someone's life. Like we give him like 15 different save the cat moments, but we also have to be like he's the
He is
angriest
so
man
angry.
ever.
He been angry since day one.
And what really confused me the most in those moments was whenever he got clubbed with what I thought was like an electrical stick, he would catch it and it would like zap his hand and then
He'll be
nothing
he'll be
happened. And I
fine.
was like, oh, is he going to have some weird radiation? All these jobs I did, I'm like so
Like
calloused
I'm
or like,
also fine. Yeah.
yeah, I'm like an everyman with like a weird superpower now. My nerves don't work. I can't, I was waiting for that to be something. And I was like, no, I guess he's just so
I
mad.
think that's probably one of the biggest issues that I have. And I think Glenn Powell does good with what the script gives him, but I feel like they basically make him a caricature. Like you're just going to be the angry person. You don't have anything else. You're the angry man with a sick kid. Go. And that's it. We don't really have any other levels to him. And they try to throw those at him and then say, but he's good. But he's good. Even though he's angry, he does good things. He's angry, but he does good things. And I'm like, oh, I need more than that if you want me to follow this man through this role.
But and all of his anger is directed at the world. Like we
Mhm.
have his weird a character test, I guess, where they're doing the word association and then the like Rorschach drawings.
Oh, yeah, he's
And I
being
wish I had it memorized because it feels like a Seth MacFarlane version of this movie where he's just like, America, a lie, justice never comes,
yeah,
family, everything.
everything. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so we're all of his anger is pointed at like the system,
The
which
man.
isn't
Yeah.
bad, but to be like, you're so mad. And I'm like, but he's not mad in general. His default setting is like empathy. He's going
Right.
out of his way to save the other contestants. He goes out of his way to like not kill any of these like hunters or anybody.
He's putting
His first
himself
big
at danger
explosion,
to take care of his wife and his daughter.
he
Yeah, like you,
screams at the people trying to kill him to run away when that room blows up.
right.
Like they go so far in both directions, and that's the weird thing about the movie because it does take a very clear stance on like media
Yeah.
and spin and even like AI to a
Hmm.
degree. But it also, but we go so far with it that when it works, I like it. Like I love when she's like, well, I know what's happening, and they turn on the Running Man, and she's like screaming out the window, and she's like, that's not what's happening, and I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
And when you have the final hunter get interrupted by Josh Brolin, I was like, these are the moments I
That's
need more
the
of.
sweet
That
spot. Yeah.
you're all just in Josh Brolin's net. You're
Hmm.
just stuck in his game.
Yes.
He knows how to do it. He knows how to show run it. And but then when it became this like global revolution,
And
which I also kind of dug, but I was like, but we'll get into that later because I was like, God, this
yeah.
also just feels like such a huge moment. But
It's all weird
th
because all of that stuff is in the text. All of that stuff is in the text. It's if there's no AI, because obviously at the time that Bachman King wrote this, AI wasn't a part of it. But they did distort the audio recordings that they used to send in and whatnot. They just didn't use AI. They updated that piece. But for the most part, all of that is on text. The things that are not are the things that either got pulled back because of the prostitution, and then we'll get to the ending when we get there. But like that are sort of like, hey, we're going to sanitize this to make this more for a PG-13 audience as opposed to like going the way that the book goes. And the book gets into some dark themes and drugs and all that stuff. That's all part of it. None of that really comes up here.
no, we focus so much on the manipulation of this game show and on Glenn Powell becoming this like symbol. And like I did really like the moment. Like I liked everything with Michael Cera. I thought that whole stuff was great. I loved his like dad in the hot dog cart, and then when the
Yeah.
cops come, him being like, "Oh, good, they're coming. I'm gonna fuck these guys up for a while."
Hmm.
I was like, "This is fantastic." Really, all of the weird little like sub places he went when he gets his weapons, when he meets the even like the YouTuber family. It was silly, but in that like weird silliness of the 80s that I was like, this feels like something if we had
I
YouTube back then we
Yeah.
would have done.
And I dug it. I didn't. We'll get to the ending. I dug it in that moment, in that scene. Yes, I loved it. It played really well there, and I think you still had the moment of making it a human piece in the connective piece because they had a sick kid too. So I was like, okay, this all sort of thematically is still working, and I
Yeah,
loved
we
it.
see this affecting everybody. And I think
Yeah.
that's something they kind of tried to do, and I think it misses it, is and I think if we had made him angry and maybe even a little selfish, the arc would have hit harder. Because it feels like he does this for his family.
Hmm.
They spin it to be like he's selfish.
Right.
And then he sees that it's happening to so many other people. And the part I like with the Michael Cera bit is when he has this whole like, you're going to be the guy that starts this. And he's like, I don't want to do that. I want to be a family guy. And
Hmm.
when Michael Cera dies, he has that like, screw it. I'm going
Screw
to
it.
be the
Let's
guy
do it.
now.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like
Yeah.
now he's seen what everyone else goes through
Hmm.
and is like, okay, fine, let's do this. Which is kind of interesting because then he like doesn't.
Right.
And
But
this is
he.
the weird thing about the movie that he like
Yeah.
gets in the car with Amelia, which is also great. And then
Hmm.
when he's surrounded by his like fan base is like, I have a bomb.
Yeah. 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 Well, it's weird because he's in a it's a two-so folded piece. Like, yes, he's saying he has a bomb, but he's doing it because at this point he knows that he has Killian by the balls. He's like, look, I'm a ratings darling. There is nothing they're going to do to take this off the air. So I can go up to this. We're going to drive through this barricade because they're going to let us drive through this barricade because they're not going to kill me yet because I'm making too much money for the network. And he once he realizes that, yes, he puts others in danger, but I think he has a plan to know that no one is actually going to be harmed
Yeah,
in this moment.
he is taking control. It's
Yeah.
just very interesting to like have this narrative around him, and in one moment he in theory is like, I'm going
It's
to
like,
ruin a lot
yeah,
of that
yeah,
goodwill and
never
keep
mind.
this going.
Yeah. And I think it's because he knows at that point, no matter what he says, they're going to take it and spin it because there's a
Right. They're
delay
gonna
on the
flip it.
recording. There's the way they flip it. They're going to put something else out on the air. So he's kind of like, it doesn't matter what I do. Like, fine, I'm going to lead
Show
into it.
show
Yeah,
starts at 8. Like those were
yeah,
also the little moments I liked when he even has
yeah.
him cornered and Josh Brolin's like, "What are you doing? We're not live
Like
yet."
Evan, get out of there. Go
Like
to the back.
I wish we had more in the third and even second act moments like that. Like I kind of wish we had gotten to that quicker,
Seeing the off the air stuff and
uh,
like we're not on the
because
air.
it's
Yeah,
one of the most fun games in the movie is Josh Brolin's unwavering, I'm in control and everything I'm doing is going to work. And if you would all just play ball with me, like why aren't you doing it? Like it's
we'll be
fantastic when
fine.
he's just like, come on, like just who cares? Like one of my favorite parts in the movie
Yeah.
towards the end is when he's like, did we kill your family or not? And he's like, what do you care?
What is
Who
that?
gives a
That's
shit? I
irrelevant.
might
Like,
be,
we're
yeah,
right.
I could lie in either direction. Like
Yeah.
just play the role that I'm handing
Like
you,
you're either
man. Just
doing this
do
or
it.
not. Right.
Yeah, like, and I was like, this is almost what the movie needed more of. It needed
Hmm.
more moments where somebody thought they had the upper hand and someone else was like, no, you're in my corner. I don't,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. And I think that apathy is why the ending doesn't hit as hard as I want it to.
Yeah. So the ending in the book happens. Everything on the plane, I was like, oh, they're going for it. Especially with this being rated R, the things that they sanitize don't make sense. Because I'm like,
That's
you're
also what's
R-rated, rated
odd.
R. Why did you not just put the prostitution in? I'm confused. And so I like when they got to the plane, I'm like, oh, we're doing the ending that's in the book. Because I'm like, they're walking into this. I was like, there's no way in hell they're doing the ending that happens in the book. Because what happens in the book, everything leads up. He tricks them to put a bomb. Say, I got a bomb. He takes Amelia and the I forgot what they're called, the hunter on the plane. And then they realize like, hey, we've scanned you. There's no bomb. You're now with us. And they get into a fight. Everything happens, but the hunter has a gun in the book instead of a knife, and he takes a mortal wound. He gets shot. And so from that point on, he's like, I'm dying. Like no matter what happens, I'm not gonna make it out of here. And he takes the plane. We never really got this part in the book, I mean, in the movie, because he deprograms the plane from being on autopilot and then checks the plane and crashes directly into the media building and kills Killian and himself and dies sort of as a martyr, a hero to because the revolution has sort of started with saying, hey, he lives, he lives. It's still ambiguous whether or not Sheila, his wife and kid, die or live. That's kind of irrelevant to the story and it's relevant to us. We don't get that answer. It's not cleanly put to a bow. And we let that story in and sort of they give a line. I can't remember what the line is. I'll try to look it up while you go. But like it basically saying, hey, both of these folks died, but the story or the life or
The
the legend
idea,
of
yeah.
the idea of Richards continues on. That felt more like a hey, an ending than what we got is this very clustered and just cumbersome ending that just feels so tacked on. And like it's weird because the actual putting him and having him go kill Killian at the building actually works. Like it plays, but then they do the whole like revealing of who he is, and that whole sequence of seeing his kid and his wife just felt so Hollywood. And I was like, this doesn't
All of
need
it
to be here.
it was like a bad version of Return of the King, where I was like, any one of these endings would have been fine.
Right.
Because I kind of dug that we see it going down, and then we just cut to the YouTuber, and he gives us all like this insane breakdown that feels like
Yeah.
something that would exist. Of like, well, as we all know, these planes have a cockpit ejaculate, and if when you
That's
see
the
it,
most Edgar
he
Wright piece of the
ejects.
movie.
Yeah. And if you look at this, you can see him eject out at the last minute. So maybe he's
Yeah.
out there somewhere. And I was like, okay, cool. I like this little wrap up because it shows that everything is maybe fake and maybe real
Hmm.
and we don't know, but the world has changed. And then we go to the wife and the kid, which I don't mind seeing her. Also very like almost Dark Knight Rises, but then not really.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and somebody pays for the groceries, and I was like, oh, awesome! Like everyone who knows him is gonna like take care of this.
Right.
Like
Like I would have been
this,
better not seeing him just saying, "Oh, the legend of Richards is taking making sure that this family is going to be fine."
yeah, this is
Like
people
we
not
found out who
know.
she is, and you guys are good.
Yeah, like I would, and even just seeing the guy in the mask, I would have been like, oh, cool. She's always gonna have a like Batman type
Right.
person.
Right.
Like that's kind of a fun
Yeah.
thing to do. And then we go bonkers. And then we go to season 7 of The Running Man.
Yeah.
For some reason, this like evil company has let in all of these protesters.
That is the part that I'm like, that doesn't make sense. You guys can decide who comes into this building, and all of us, and they all have signs. Every one of them
And
has a sign, Richard lives. How do you let that get through?
how is it? Yeah, how is it even getting this far?
Yeah.
We have him argue with the host, and I did love that. That was another one where I was like, I can watch the host chew this scenery
Oh, BC
every.
Bobby was great. Coleman Domingo, give me more,
Yeah,
everything. I want to show just about him being the
like, and
host.
that's the weird thing about the movie is that it's cast so well that
Yeah.
almost whenever someone is doing something, I am like captivated by it,
Yeah.
and then I'm just like, oh man, but then we did that. Like, what? Come
Yeah.
on, just like stick your landing. Like,
Hmm.
it's not even have some balls. Like, you should have some balls too and say something more aggressive than this. But
Yeah.
like, at least if you're gonna be safe, land your safe shot.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
if you're gonna do this, because it was so weird to me that then Josh Brolin's like, I can host the
Yeah.
show. I'll
Not re
spin
like,
it.
how did he think that was going to go?
He,
That's a ravaged mob that's out there.
and that was what was funny is I was like, you know what? If he had just walked outside and like they thought it was done, and then there were just protesters there and they like attacked him, fine,
Would have made more
fine.
sense. Right.
Yeah, for them to all be there, and then the second they don't even let him try to talk, they just
Go.
rush him.
Go.
They brought Molotov cocktails in, which I also was like
Again,
weird. This was
if you can securely see that this man didn't bring a bomb on a plane, I'm pretty sure you can check to see if people are bringing in
this, yeah.
Molotov
You
cocktails.
had DNA smellers in the antennas of phones. You can't figure out that these guys have like guerrilla terrorist
Yeah.
tactics to
Yeah.
use today in this movie. And then I really, really didn't like Glenn Powell walking up and doing the countdown to shooting him.
Yeah.
That was the most like, okay, so in the last year, has he become this like vigilante? Like,
Hmm.
I dig him saying he's going to become the idea. Screw it, I'm the match. But then presented with the family, you'd think that he'd be like, cool, I was the idea. I'm going to do family stuff now. By all means, burn down the network.
And you know what would have still been in line with the book and then allow them to do what it is they do. Just don't show his face. Even the killing at the end, don't let it be like don't show that it's Richards. We leave it to the audience to be like, is that or is that not? But you can still have him quote unquote have died in the plane and then do the scene like we said with his wife, still keep the person on the side like we don't know what's happening, but just say, hey, the theme or the idea of Richards has lived. But having him pull off the mask and showing that he lived made all of the last 10 minutes of that just feel like, oh, somebody rewrote this 15 times and this is the best thing that they
And
could do.
it was just whiplash because it was like
Yeah.
ambiguous ending, kind of ambiguous ending, and then the
Right.
most non-ambiguous
Nope, he's
ending
a
you could
lot.
possibly imagine. He's alive, and in like a year's time, we were able to like infiltrate and
Right.
destroy all
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah. And you want
Um,
me to believe that it feels like the way that this is set up and how they just let everybody in there, that company, that media company said, you know what, we're done with Killian. We're done with Killian. Go ahead and kill him. Because there's no reason why everybody would just allow him to walk up to the set and just
and
do
you know
that.
what? Now that you say that, that would have been the coolest reveal at the end if they
Uh-huh.
had killed him and then just somebody else was like, get the next guy in.
Yeah, bring in
Like
the
the
next one.
ratings, because it's so comparable to the long walk, and it's so, I think, relevant to today. Like, I understand why we would make this movie today in this age of, hey, this news article came out and then we're going to spin it this
Let's
way,
flip
and
it.
CNN's going to spin it that way, and Fox will spin it that way, and we're going to make you
Take
hate or
sides.
love this
Right.
person.
Hmm.
Even if you're just like an influencer, AI is growing. We just
Yeah.
don't like, we live in this weird, like, time that I think people are worried about this kind of a dystopian happening. And we're always doing game shows that like it doesn't
Oh
feel
yeah.
that far away.
No, not at all.
But what The Long Walk did better than this is one, the overall ambiguous ending, but
Hmm.
there was also a sense that some people wanted it to continue, that this wasn't the last time.
Right.
And it was interesting to me to kind of, because I think at one point he says something of like, I'm part of the half of the country that doesn't like the show.
Hmm.
And I was like, so in theory, there should be people who are like, bring on seasons. This was the best season
Well,
we had.
yeah, and I think it's why they kept showing the reality, like the Kardashians-esque reality show that was going on. Like you could tell that he kind of dug that. That was like his comfort show. But there's some people who hate that. So as at the very same token, while he doesn't want to be watched, he's watching other people do it. So there is still this cycle, like, oh yeah, you're not far removed. They may not be
Yeah.
killing each other, but they're still giving you mindless television, and you're chewing this up.
And you love it. Yeah. Like it
Yeah,
is. And he's watching the other game show with the guy running on the wheel.
yeah,
Like he is looped
he's a
into
part
it.
of it. Yeah.
And I think that's something that they should have dug into because we sort of we go like all in on the like Viva the Revolution and pay
Hmm.
attention. Don't watch the show, watch the people who pay for the show. And I dug all of that, but I was like, I think one of the fundamental things that we're assuming is that everyone in this world, after watching him do one season of this, is like, he's right, burn
He's
it
right.
all down.
Yeah,
Which
like
is the most like, I
which
don't think
I
that's
don't
how
think
this
that
would
how that
go.
works. Like you're not going to have 6 seasons of this, and people are just like, all right, well, we're done. We're cool. Especially when the
No,
ratings were as high as they were coming off of this. Like that's not going to track.
it would have made more sense. I think I like that of it of them being like, yeah, we're firing you, Killian. Like
Yeah.
there's a if they had just cut to another stage where they were doing season 7 with a new host and CEO after that, I would have been like,
Hmm.
oh, awesome. This
Yeah.
wasn't even the show. This wasn't even
Right.
like he's now in the corner. Like put
Yeah.
him in the he thinks this is real. Um, so that it was interesting to kind of end on that note of like, okay, now what? Because I
It
think
was
what the
such a
book does
muddy
well.
ending, and the book basically it's when he throws the plane into it, they both die, and it's like, oh, the fire and ash that happened could be seen from miles away, and then that's the end. Like that's it.
And I think when
It's
you
not the happy ending, but I think it's why I like Long Walk so much that yeah, you don't always need the cleanest ending. And it's okay. It's safe to be instead of that uncomfortability. And I feel like this movie felt like we could never make you too uncomfortable.
no, this really wanted to be a fun popcorn
Hmm.
movie. And even the Arnold movie isn't really
No,
that.
it's very much less
It's
than that than this. At least this does because the themes are ingrained in the DNA. Like if you're basically making a one-to-one to the book, you're going to default and slip on the themes naturally because they're in there. But this does everything to possibly like, all right, let's make it a little bit more digestible. And I don't know, that's not what this book, that's not what you want from this type of a movie.
and I think it also just kind of shows how we make sci-fi movies now. Like there was something about the original Running Man and a lot of 80s and 70s and even like 90s
The Total
sci-fi.
Recall sort of feels like that's
Gr-
kind of gritty.
it's
Like
gritty and it's
yeah.
gross
Hmm.
and it's like and everything in this movie, even like the really, really poor places we went to,
Feel,
felt
feel, feel,
clean. Like it
especially I think
felt,
especially after the first act. I think the first act of showing him in the home and him going to talk to his boss felt grimy. Once they got basically on after he saw William H. Macy, which by the way, why is Bill H. Macy just randomly in this movie? But once they saw William Macy, it then all started feeling so clean and like a much softer sci-fi versus like if this is supposed to be grimy and dirty, I can't tell anymore.
yeah, yeah. And I was like, oh, they want this to be like a Marvel
Hmm.
popcorn time. And that's just not the book you're adapting.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny you bring up William H. Macy. The other thing that totally threw me for a loop was that Liquid Death commercial.
That is an
And
actual. I was like, okay, now I'm confused because nothing else in
what
this movie
year
is
is
an
it?
actual thing. And then you take Liquid Death, and I'm like, that's I can go outside now and get Liquid Death. What is this?
I was like, are we trying to do like a lawnmower man? Like Taco Bell is fancy, is Liquid Death like the last
Like we're just keeping
clean
that's the only thing
water?
that
Is
sticks around. Yeah, like we
I
kept that all this time,
I was like, what an insane partnership to just have
just
tossed
randomly in the
in.
yeah,
Like, I don't mind it because it's always there a little bit. Like, I don't always, the Matrix has so much random
yeah,
stuff and Powerade and the right cars, and it never really hinders it. Like, it's
no.
never like Agent Smith takes a sip of Powerade and is like, Mr. Anderson.
But that was the one that like took my brain was like, wait. what year is this movie supposed to take? Like, I literally started doing the things like, what year is it supposed to take place in? So Liquid, like, is McDonald's
It was
still here? Like,
the
what is
it was the
happening around?
same can. It wasn't
Yeah,
even a futurized can.
no.
It was the most like, hey, we needed like an extra 10 mil to get distribution, and Liquid Death signed it. So here you go.
Here you go. We got to
Um,
pay for William H. Macy. Go put a Liquid Death commercial in here.
I feel like there was another artist they mentioned, like another musician, and I was like, what? What happened? Like there was just, but yeah, it's such a weird movie because I did have fun. Everyone in it is so good at like
Yeah,
doing what they're doing. And then you just sort of walk away and you're like, all right, I guess there's nothing for me to be like mad
I'm not
about,
angry about
but I'm
anything.
not like, I'm
It's
also not super curious. Like,
it's the exact same feeling that I had after watching Ready Player One, and because I was a huge
yeah,
fan of that book, and my wife loved a fan of a person who's not a fan loved the movie. She's like, "Oh, this is great. What did you think?" I was like, "It's fine." That's
if that's what
exactly
you
how I
want,
was. I was like, "It's fine. I don't hate it."
yeah.
And it tells the story if that's what you want, but there are things that this doesn't get into the grind.
Yeah, it really is
This
that
doesn't
like
get
this
into the
just
nut
isn't
and
why
bolt
I
and the
fell in
grime
love
of
with this
what I think
story.
that book is about.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Right.
interesting, but it
They
is
took the shell of it, and and this one I think did a lot better job of doing it. But yeah,
yeah, and it is it's interesting to kind of see it in the box office because it came in second this weekend, peaking around 17 million. It was projected to do 20, so it fell short. Now You See Me, Now
yeah,
You Don't came in first at 21 million. So it's not like it got destroyed. And I think there's a lot of interesting stuff to even like look at this list before even like diving into
no,
the wealth of this Deadline article. Because like Predator came in third with making its total 66 million, and then Regretting You, Black Phone 2, Nuremberg.
hmm
I think the biggest thing to see, and it's both right and wrong at the same time, is like the word of mouth part of it. Is like Predator clearly had good word of mouth, got a pretty strong second weekend. Running Man's reviews were
correct.
not great out of the gate, and I think interest kind of dropped. But
hmm
Now You See Me 3 does have a worse Rotten Tomatoes score, and they
Yeah.
both got like a cinema score of like B plus. So it's not like there's one that's
hmm
just
B plus
destroying
and
the
then
other
A's.
one.
No,
Um,
there's just
I
a
think
bigger install base
it's also
for
a
Now You See Me. Even though I think 9 years is a
13
long
versus
time, it's
R.
still correct. That's the biggest thing. And I think what's impressive about Predators is they managed to still kind of hold water. I know it's a big drop, but they still managed to hold water and they lost all premium formats. Like they went to both Running Man and Now You See Me. So for them to still be doing that number is just off of word of mouth because they don't have Dolby or IMAX anymore. That's gone for them.
And they kind of have it in this article of like, pretty much the only people who showed up for Running Man, surprising nobody, is like men over
Dudes,
25. That was 45,
dudes.
7% of
Yeah.
the audience.
Which I
Uh,
think what a lot of people are sort of trying to bank on with Glenn Powell is that anyone but you, the comedy that he had with Sydney Sweeney that did well, they're banking on like women are now attached to him, and they're not. We're
and they're
seeing that
not.
like they're not following him with whatever he does.
And they have some exit polls in here of like asking why people went to Running Man. And the highest one is like the trailer looked good. The second one is the premise is, a third is Glenn Powell. So it's not like
Hmm
he was even
He's
at the
not there.
top.
Yeah,
And I think you also then kind of get into the ensemble versus the star because Now You See Me 3
has a little bit of everything, and
has
like
everyone in
different
it.
from different ethnicities, and it's all. And I did not know that this movie was doing overseas. They are eating Now You See Me up.
Huge. They love
Yeah.
it. It's one of those weird franchises that like quietly makes a lot of money that I don't really pay attention to. And
Yeah, you
then
text me and it was like, how's no, these each of these have made like 350, $330 million, like
crazy,
consistently. Yeah.
crazy. And
Yeah.
have they all been with different studios too? Like
I
they just
think
kind of
so.
keep
I think they were just
hot
rotating around.
potatoing this
Yeah.
franchise
Yeah.
around. So it is interesting. Like but I guess like it's funny because this Deadline article is like nobody in town in LA, Hollywood understands why this happened. And a part of me is like, you don't? This is an old IP
Yeah. It's an
with
IP that
like,
has an install base. They're already cranking out a number four. It's funny. Ruben Fleischer has two franchises that I think he could come back every 7 years and kind of make a movie, and people like Zombieland and Now You See Me, and they'll be there. They're like, cool, all right, yeah,
Yep.
I'm in.
I think they're just consistently good. And like The
Yeah.
Running Man is like one Arnold movie from decades ago. Like as much as we've been like, oh, it's 10 years since Now You See Me too. This is much longer.
And I think that's the biggest thing too, is that I feel like they leaned more, not The Long Walk was heavy with Stephen King. Like this is Stephen King, this is Stephen King, this is Stephen King. The Running Man felt like they leaned more into the fact that this was another version of the Arnold movie and less that this was a Stephen King book. And maybe it's because The Long Walk was so close and they're like, we don't want to kind of be as
Do you want
similar,
to see the
but
same movie in a different setting
right, exactly. Exactly. Maybe
by
they
the
were trying to
same
stay away
author?
from that by the same author. Maybe that what they were staying away from. But I feel like the Stephen King piece would have been a better lean in because it is more akin to the book, and you would have gotten more of the book fans and the people who are like, you if you go after the Arnold movie, what you're doing, even though the Arnold movie wasn't good, you're going after the people who are fans of that movie who are like, F
Action.
this movie, F this movie. I don't want to see it because it's not Arnold. And they're like, Glenn Powell's not Arnold. I don't want to see it. And so that's a piece of what happened as well. People kind of like, nope, I don't want to see this.
Yeah, it's very strange. I was bummed out because Arnold was on their money.
Yeah.
Um, and they kept talking about the season one guy who lasted so long. I really was like, is Arnold, are we going to get Arnold?
We get
Is
the
he going to
man.
show up?
Yeah.
And then it's like, nope, he's just on the
Nope. Just
money.
just on money.
So he does exist in this universe somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the season one guy is the villain. And I was like, well, that's not
Replaced.
as fun.
Yeah.
That's okay. I really was like, oh, Arnold's going to show up and have just like two or three cool lines of like, you have to go now.
Yeah.
He's gonna be I thought he was gonna be in like the bunker. I was like, he's gonna get to where Michael Cera's getting him, and Arnold will be there to just say like, "Get back to your family."
Get in the chopper. Get in
Yeah,
the
he'll have
plane.
some. He'll say two or three things,
Yeah.
and I'll be like, "Yay,
You did
yes,
it.
all I wanted."
Yeah.
Uh,
It's
yeah, it's
it's unfortunate that I think it's weird because now I'm like, oh yeah, they gave me a version that's very close to the book, but now I'm like, "Ah, but I still want this done
that's
again
the
by
biggest
somebody
problem
who
with the
actually
movie
understood
is
it."
that it's good and it's good enough, and it's so close to being like
It's
awesome.
right there. Yeah.
That's what I think the itch is I'm like, I don't dislike it,
No.
but man, if we could just tighten some of these screws
Hmm.
and have a little more fun. Like it's very strange to me
That
whenever
is
we adapt these 80s movies that were like built on stupid camp and silliness that we don't
don't lean
have the
into it.
fun. It
Yeah.
really makes me worried about the Highlander remake where I'm like, this needs to be like a fun, goofy time.
It's fascinating to me. I mean, and I think that's the biggest sort of like separation that I feel. Like I get it, the material doesn't really offer it, but if you're going to put Edgar Wright in place as a director, I there just should have been more style or fun to it. And I think all the films you can think of with him, especially the trilogy with uh the zombies and Zombieland and World's End, but even with like Soho and Scott Pilgrim, his style just naturally just adds fun to it. And like
Yeah.
in Baby Driver, you like there's just fun ingrained in the way that he shoots it. And in this, like I said, he's a gun for hire, and like all of the sort of fun that he sort of normally adds into it doesn't get here. And I don't know why he was
Yeah.
so strong to try to get this franchise and not add any of himself to it.
No, it's very strange. It
Yeah.
is very odd. It would be like if Tarantino made a movie like this and you're like, but why are we not
But
doing
why?
Tarantino things?
Let's say for instance he actually got to make his Star Trek that actually came out. If it wasn't like F bombs and cursing in it, I'm like, well, why did he do this?
Why did we get him to do this?
Right. Like I'm confused.
All right. Well, that's our show, everyone. Leave us a review and comment on our YouTube channel, which is where Terrence also does our TV reviews and trailer reactions at Hollywood Already Did It and Hollywood ADI on TikTok and on X or Twitter. I'm at, as always, Blake, and Terrence is at Terrence Tatum, and we will see everybody next time.
Later.